Rocketmole by Matt Carr. Armstrong the mole was fed up with living underground. It was dark, damp and dirty, and a bit boring. But boring is what moles do, laughed his friend Mona. You see, Armstrong was a star-nosed mole. Instead of digging down, he preferred to look up. He was also a clever and inventive mole. He built himself a telescope and made some glasses so he could look through it. Armstrong yearned for adventure. One night he tunnelled up to look at the moon. It was amazing, glowing brightly in the night sky. I need some space. That's it, he said to himself. I'm going to the moon. Armstrong called a mole meeting to tell all his friends. Don't be silly, said Doug. We moles stay underground because it's safe. It's safe down here. Armstrong didn't care about danger. He was a mole on a mission. I'm boldly going where no mole has gone before, said Armstrong. But he soon found out that getting a small mammal into orbit wasn't that easy. The ladder was far too short, the trampoline wasn't bouncy enough, and the cannon wasn't strong enough. To get to the moon, he was going to have to think big. Very big. Armstrong worked day and night until he'd made the biggest rocket any mole had ever built. In fact, it was the only rocket any mole had built. Even his friends were impressed as they bravely peeked up above the ground to watch the countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off. The rocket zoomed into space at incredible speed. The journey to the moon was long and dangerous, but floating around in zero gravity was fun, although drinking tea was a bit of a struggle, and the less said about going to the loo the better. After a few days, Armstrong reached the moon. He leapt out full of excitement. This is one small step for a man, one giant leap for a mole, he chuckled. Hooray! He'd made it! Armstrong was the very first mole on the moon. He felt very proud. He would have patted himself on the back, but his spacesuit was a bit tight. Armstrong began to explore, but the novelty soon wore off. The moon was not that different from home. It was dark and cold, and a bit boring too. There's just no atmosphere, he thought. And suddenly Armstrong felt very, very small. He sat down for a spot of lunch. The world looked so beautiful, with its oceans, lands and fluffy clouds. I miss the earth, and I miss my friends too, he sighed. He tried to eat his dehydrated cheese sandwich, but he couldn't get it past his space helmet. It's time to go home. Armstrong headed back down to Earth and landed with a bump. He was about to go underground to find his friends when they surprised him. They plucked up the courage and ventured above ground to welcome him home. You're an inspiration to us all. You've shown that if you're brave enough to follow your dreams, anything is possible, said Maggie. Armstrong chuckled once again. It's one giant leap for molekind. The welcome home party was brilliant, but Armstrong looked glum. I've been to the moon. Now I want to see the world, he said, but it's no fun on my own. His friends already felt bigger and braver. Don't worry, we'll come with you, they all cried. We're not boring anymore. That's it. Armstrong had a great idea. If I recycle my rocket, it might just work. And so, Armstrong built an amazing underground boring machine and set out on a brand new adventure, this time with all his friends on board. Let's go, we've got a whole world to explore. And this is where they went. They shopped in New York, they said bonjour in Paris, they played with lions in Kenya, danced with penguins in Antarctica, climbed up Mount Everest in Nepal. They were amazed by the Great Wall of China. They visited the Taj Mahal in India, and they wandered in the outback in Australia. They had a great time.